welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're doing something, well, quite different. We're putting aside the usual reports, the market stuff, all that. We're heading out, metaphorically speaking, into the quiet, into the dark, because the sources we've got here, they're not typical. Not at all. It's a stack of really raw personal encounter reports. They're deeply unsettling. We're calling them the unexplained diaries. They come from all over the high desert, lonely plains, dark highways, real isolated spots.
That's right. And our job today, it isn't the usual analysis, looking for misidentification or psychological factors. Not this time. These accounts, they're spread out by geography, by time, but they paint this picture. A pattern emerges. And it's chillingly consistent. We're moving past just sightings here. This feels more like interaction, almost calculated, like a script being played out.
Okay.
And it leaves traces, scars, things that, frankly, seem impossible by our current understanding.
So our goal really is to take these scattered pieces, these facts from diaries, and weave them together. Think of it like we're telling one single story, a horror story maybe, but constructed entirely from these data points, these reports.
Yeah.
It's like we're using the structure of a scary story to try and grasp the physics of something truly uncanny.
Exactly. We're tracing the path of whatever this phenomenon is, and it doesn't seem passive, does it? It's not just floating up there. It interacts. It seems to observe, sometimes with this unnerving precision. It targets individuals, and crucially, it leaves physical evidence, a trace. So we'll follow that path, starting with how everything goes quiet, then the strange games it seems to play, right through to how it seems to affect physical matter and maybe most disturbingly, time itself.
Okay, so let's set the scene for you listening. Imagine you're with us. Maybe it's late, the air's cool, you've got maybe just the embers of a fire glowing, and it's quiet. Really quiet. That kind of quiet that feels heavy, almost presses in. We're stepping into that darkness alongside these witnesses. We're starting right at that moment where the world they knew just shifts, where the rules feel thin, terrifyingly thin. So get comfortable, or maybe don't get too comfortable, because we begin where so many of these accounts seem to start, with a deliberate, profound silence. The quiet right before reality seems to just collapse.
Right. When you synthesize the beginnings of these high strangeness events, the first most consistent thing is sound, or rather the lack of it. It's not just getting quieter. It's like the ambient sound is actively stripped away, a sudden dramatic deprivation.
Yeah.
And that sudden heavy silence, it's often the first real sign that something deeply unnatural is unfolding. It's a psychological trigger.
Okay, let's ground this. Palo Duro Canyon, Texas. We've got a report from a family camping trip. Sounds normal enough to start, right? Evening time, warm air, maybe the dogs are barking at noises in the dark, the usual canyon night sounds, coyotes yipping, insects buzzing, wind rustling.
The typical soundscape until they see it. A bright light, described as white, but with this sort of faint bluish edge, almost like ionized air. And it's dropping fast, descending right into the canyon basin.
And this is where it gets strange. The sound.
Instantly. The witness testimony is very clear on this. The second that light appeared and descended, it was like someone flipped a switch. Total silence, not a fade out, just gone. The insects, the coyotes, the wind, even distant sounds vanished. And the witness said the silence wasn't empty, it felt massive. They used the phrase, press on your ears, like a physical weight, a vacuum.
Wow, pressing on your ears, that's
Yeah.
intense. But why? Why the silence? Is it just a side effect, like, big energy field does weird things?
Yeah.
Or is it deliberate?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It seems unlikely to be just a byproduct. Think about normal physics. A huge energy release might cause a shock wave, a temporary vacuum maybe, but it wouldn't just selectively eliminate all ambient sound across the board instantly like that.
No, that makes sense.
The feeling of pressure suggests something else, maybe a localized field effect, electromagnetic, gravitational, something actively manipulating sound waves, canceling them out, essentially turning off the world's natural soundtrack just for that area.
It's like creating a sterile environment, isolating the witness,
Yeah.
making them vulnerable.
Precisely, an overwhelming stillness. And it's not unique to the canyon. We see this same tactic, the same psychological isolation with the trucker out on I-40 in the Arizona desert. Kingman.
Right, the Kingman report. Midnight run, long haul.
Yeah. He described the sky as this really heavy, dark blue, stars almost too bright, His radio was already crackling, fading in and out, typical for remote areas. But then the object appeared, this massive black triangle overhead. And the change was absolute. The wind just stopped, dead still. The radio hiss, gone. Complete silence. He said everything felt too still, too perfect. And that manufactured stillness, that seems to be the warning sign. The entity, whatever it is setting the stage around the witness.
Okay, so first, total silence. Then the next step seems to involve darkness, but in a really targeted way. This takes us to rural Illinois. This is where it feels less like environmental side effects and more like active manipulation, like a predator almost, playing.
Oh, this sequence is genuinely creepy because of the precision. The witness is walking home, it's drizzling, a bit miserable. Standard streetlights, those orange sodium vapor ones, they start to flicker. Okay, maybe normal, right? But they didn't fail randomly. They went out sequentially, one after the other, perfectly timed to the witness's walking pace.
So like a wave of darkness moving just ahead of him.
Exactly. I mean, if it was a power surge or some big EMP, you'd expect lights to go out all over, maybe randomly or all at once.
Right, not like a spotlight operator snuffing them out one by one.
Precisely. The lights flickered off in order, right ahead of the witness, plunging the path into total blackness. But here's the really disturbing part. The lights behind them, the ones they'd already passed, they stayed on. Dimly, maybe, but on.
Creating a tunnel of darkness.
A moving cylinder of darkness.
Got it.
It isolates the witness, makes them feel completely exposed, maybe even highlighted for something in the darkness ahead. They can't see what's coming, but something can see them.
That's terrifying. So what did the witness do? Just keep walking into the dark?
No, pure survival instinct kicked in. They stopped, took a couple of steps back, and get this, the street light nearest to them, the one that had just gone out, it flickered back on.
No way.
Yes. And then the sequence of blackout started reversing, coming back towards them, one by one. It was like the darkness was hurting them, forcing them to retreat further back the way they came.
Okay, that rules out simple electrical faults. That's intelligence. That's interaction.
It has to be. It's not a regional power grid issue. This feels like a personalized, active game, using light and dark to control movement, to instill fear. It suggests not just awareness, but maybe even, well, malicious intent, or at least a very detached, controlling kind of intelligence.
So we have the silence, the engineered darkness, the visual and auditory cues. What's next? You mentioned the sound that's felt.
Yes, the flip side of the silence, the unsettling hum. It often comes after the silence or sometimes precedes the main event. It's this low, persistent frequency. And the key is it often bypasses the ears. You register it physically, like in your chest cavity.
Let's go to Fallon, Nevada, the rancher, the one who found the big burn mark later.
That's the one. He described it perfectly. He didn't really hear a sound initially. It was too low. But as he got closer to his cow, Millie, she was just standing there, rigid. Near where the circle was later found, he felt it. A faint, deep vibration in the air.
He said it was a low hum you hear more in my chest than my ears. What does that actually mean physiologically? What frequency are we talking about?
We're likely talking about infrasound. Frequencies below the normal human hearing range, say below 20 hertz. And infrasound is known to have physical effects. It can cause feelings of unease, anxiety, that tight feeling in the chest he described, sometimes even vertigo or a sense of panic, precisely because we feel it vibrating inside us rather than hearing it cleanly.
So is this just a byproduct of whatever propulsion system the thing uses? Or is it deliberate, another tool to disorient?
It could be either, honestly. A side effect of immense power generation, maybe? Or if it's being targeted, it's a highly effective way to amplify the fear and disorientation already started by the silence. It hits you on a primal physical level.
And we see this hum affecting structures too, right? The Nebraska Farm Report?
Yes, that one's interesting because the hum wasn't just felt by people, it was structural. The report mentions a sound that started subtly, a low, steady hum, barely there at first. But it grew. It vibrated the floorboards, the walls of the farmhouse. The witness described it as feeling like the air itself was singing. And crucially, they noted it wasn't rhythmic, not like a machine pulse or a heartbeat. It was described as more metallic, like a tuning fork that just sustains, unwavering, constant.
And the animals are often more sensitive to this stuff.
Absolutely. The report states all 23 cattle were found huddled together in the absolute furthest corner of the barn, and they were visibly trembling. They were reacting strongly to this frequency, this non-rhythmic, metallic hum that seemed to be shaking the building itself. It points to a massive controlled energy field affecting both living beings and inanimate structures.
Okay, this is all building up, but then we get to a point where the intelligence behind it becomes undeniable, explicit even. Back to Illinois, the apartment dweller.
Right. This is where the interaction becomes incredibly direct. The witness wakes up to this low hum of vibration in the room. Soft, pervasive. They reach for their phone, maybe to record, maybe to check the time, maybe just out of instinct. The instant their finger touched the phone screen,
It stopped.
Instantly, the hum, the vibration just cut out completely.
That can't be a coincidence.
It strongly suggests it isn't.
Yeah.
It's not just that the electronics are being interfered with randomly. It's a response, a direct reaction to the witness attempting to engage with technology, to document, to connect outside the bubble the phenomenon created. It knew. It was aware of the attempt. The hum stopped, only to start again minutes later when the phone was put down, and this pattern repeated.
That is seriously chilling. It implies the phenomenon isn't just present, it's actively monitoring the witness's actions, maybe even their intent, through their devices. It waits for you to try and record it, then stops.
Exactly. It's waiting for you to lower your guard. The moment you try to get proof or call for help, the performance pauses. So the transition is complete, isn't it? From that absolute imposed silence of the desert to this charged, humming environment that feels like a cage that reacts to your thoughts, your movements. It's like the structure of the world is being actively bent around the witness, preparing them, setting the stage for the next act. Direct observation, being watched.
Okay, so stage is set. The silence, the hum, the weird darkness, the feeling of total isolation. Now comes the realization that this thing isn't just passing through, it's watching, it's pacing you. It seems to be playing deliberate, unnerving games.
Right. We need to look closely at how these objects move, because their movements, they just defy everything we know about aerodynamics, about inertia, about physics, really. They operate with this level of precise, intelligent control that feels intentional. They're not just reacting to air currents, they seem to be reacting to us.
Let's go back to the I-40 trucker, Kingman. After that massive black triangle flew over him, he then saw these lights ahead, 3 of them.
3 perfect white lights in a horizontal line, hovering over the highway some distance ahead. So what does he do? He floors it, tries to put some distance between him and whatever this is, pushing 70, maybe 75 miles per hour. And the lights, they move forward too, effortlessly maintaining the exact same distance ahead of him.
Okay, so then he decides to test it.
Yeah, he gets suspicious. He slows down deliberately, drops his speed back to maybe 55, just to see. And instantly, the 3 lights drift back towards him. Again, maintaining that perfect formation, that same distance. No lag, no overshoot, just perfect synchronicity.
That's the chilling part, isn't it? They weren't pacing the road or a landmark. They were pacing him, reacting to his speed changes, his intent.
Exactly. They adjust speed instantly with zero apparent inertia. That's not how planes or helicopters work. They maintain perfect formation while doing it. It screams non-conventional physics and, more importantly, active tracking of the witness.
That level of control, that perfect formation, it would take incredibly complex systems in any vehicle we know how to build. But this seems effortless, instantaneous.
And it gets even more pronounced when we look at the encounter reported by Flight 319. This was a commercial airliner, high altitude, over the Denver area. The pilot reports seeing this shimmering, elongated object, not below them, but 3,000 feet above the jet, and it was pacing them.
Above a commercial jet, matching its speed, we're talking hundreds of miles per hour complex flight paths.
Precisely. And here's the kicker. Air traffic control radar. Couldn't see a thing. This object was invisible to ground radar and likely the plane's own systems. Yet, for over half an hour, it mirrored every single maneuver the pilot made. Climbs, turns, changes in speed. It stayed exactly 3,000 feet above, perfectly synchronized.
Think about the kind of propulsion and control needed for that. Non-aerodynamic flight at high altitude and speed, invisible to radar, yet capable of predicting and matching the complex movements of a large aircraft.
It's evidence of incredibly advanced surveillance capabilities, operating completely outside our detection methods, yet interacting with meticulous precision.
Okay, so there's this absolute control and movement, but then it escalates to direct interference. Sabotage, you called it. The cold touch that cuts witnesses off from help or orientation.
Yes, it seems to deliberately disable technology, especially navigation and communication. Take the driver on Route 36 out in the Kansas flatlands, just driving along. Suddenly, as the phenomenon apparently got closer, their phone's GPS just freezes, stops updating. The navigation voice cuts out mid-word, and the phone's internal compass
And starts spinning.
wildly, spinning in circles. That alone would be disorienting enough, losing your main navigation tools in the middle of nowhere. But then it did something truly bizarre.
What happened?
It stopped spinning and froze, pointing straight up.
Straight up. Not north, not south. Up. Towards the sky.
Exactly. Think about what that implies. A magnetic compass needle aligns with the Earth's magnetic field lines. Those lines run mostly horizontally across the planet's surface. For the needle to be pulled so strongly that it points vertically suggests a localized magnetic field from the object overhead. that was so incredibly powerful it completely overwhelmed the Earth's natural magnetism in that spot. It literally broke the rules of how compasses work.
The phenomenon is actively messing with fundamental forces right around the witness. That's deeply unsettling. We see a similar kind of reality bending in the Lake Crescent report with the boat.
Yes, the reflection. The witness is on the dock looking at their reflection in the water, but something's wrong. Their reflection is lagging. It ripples and moves slowly, mimicking their own movements but delayed, out of sync. Meanwhile, the reflection of the sky, the trees around the lake, perfectly normal, rigid, and accurate.
So it's selectively distorting reality just for the witness's image. That's psychological manipulation at eye level, making you doubt your own senses, your own reflection.
It is. And notice the reaction when the witness tries to assert control.
They turn on a flashlight.
Yes. The moment the flashlight beam hits the water, two things happen instantly. The weird humming sound they'd been hearing cuts off, and the reflection snaps back to normal. It stops lagging. Direct, focused human action seems to disrupt the effect. But the phenomenon often gets the last laugh. Later, the witness checked their phone. They'd tried to record video during the weird reflection part. The footage. Corrupted, wiped clean, unrecoverable.
So it lets you experience the weirdness, the fear, but then it scrubs the definitive proof. It interacts with the recording technology itself to ensure its tracks are covered.
It seems that way. It manages the encounter and then manages the evidence, or lack thereof. And this technological interaction can be massive.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that I-40 black triangle again. Remember, this thing was described as huge, like a football field, sharp edges, totally silent, as it passed directly over the trucker's cab.
The headlights dimmed.
Slightly, but noticeably. A definite dimming. And at the same moment, his CB radio erupted in a burst of loud, static, white noise.
Okay, the dimming lights suggest a huge energy drain, right? Or distortion. Like the object's field was pulling power from the truck's electrical system just by being near.
That's a strong possibility. For something that big to move silently and cause a measurable energy drain points to an incredibly advanced, probably field-based propulsion or cloaking system, something that interacts directly with local electromagnetic fields.
And the most direct example of this tech interaction, the awareness of being watched, comes from the drone operator.
Yes, the drone operator on the bluff. This person is using sophisticated gear, FPV goggles, recording everything. They spot this flat, bright object, like a coin, just hovering. So they try to get a closer look, maneuver the drone towards it.
And the object vanishes.
From the drone's direct line of sight, yes, it disappears. But then looking at the live feed in the goggles, the operator sees it again. But where?
Directly behind the drone, in its blind spot.
It's playing games with the camera. It seems to be actively exploiting the drone's limitations. It knew where the camera was pointing, knew where its blind spot was, and positioned itself there. It's like it was demonstrating its awareness of being filmed, its ability to outsmart the technology. It's essentially saying, I see you watching me, and I can control what your machine records.
That is profoundly creepy. Predictive intelligence. And the recorded footage.
Confirmed the game. The operator saw it plain as day in the live feed behind the drone, but when they reviewed the recorded footage later, empty sky. Nothing where the object should have been. Maybe sometimes a split-second glitch, a frame of static, a jump in the video log right at that moment. But no clean image of the object behind the drone.
So the pattern holds. First, they match your movement, showing they're aware. Then they disable your tools, GPS, compass, radio. Then they manipulate or erase the recording.
It's a consistent strategy. Synchronicity, sabotage, erasure. It seems designed to control the entire encounter, leaving the witness isolated, disoriented, and doubting their own evidence. Calculated control over the whole observation process.
We've talked about the psychological impact, the fear, the feeling of being watched and toyed with, but this next part, this is where it shifts. This is where subjective experience becomes objective reality, because they find things left behind. Physical marks, scars on the earth, on objects that just don't make sense according to normal physics. The fear becomes undeniable because the evidence is right there.
Exactly. This is often the most compelling part of these accounts. It moves from, I saw something weird, to, look at what this weird thing did. And these physical traces, they consistently point to a few key things. Immense weight or pressure, incredibly intense localized heat, and often a strange geometric precision that just screams advanced non-human engineering.
Let's start with probably the most famous type of trace, the burn marks. Back to Fallon, Nevada. The rancher finds this mark in his pasture the next day. Describe it again.
It was striking. A perfectly round circle, measured at 40 feet across. And the grass wasn't just burnt, it was gone, scorched right down to the bare dirt. But crucially, the smell. It didn't smell like a normal fire, like smoke or ash. He said it smelled intensely metallic, like hot metal, or maybe ozone.
Why is the smell so important here?
Because normal burning, combustion leaves byproducts carbon, ash, the smell of smoke. A strong metallic or ozone smell suggests a different process, maybe intense electromagnetic heating, microwave radiation, something that applies extreme heat instantly, without fire as we know it, and the effect on the ground confirms this. The soil inside the circle was described as dry and crumbly, like it had been baked in a kiln.
Baked, not just burned. And the really chilling part is the long-term effect, right?
Absolutely. This is what elevates it beyond just a scorch mark. The rancher tried multiple times to reseed that patch of ground. Nothing grew. Ever again. The event didn't just burn the surface, it sterilized the soil itself, rendered it biologically inert. That suggests something fundamental changed in the soil chemistry, maybe residual radiation, maybe some unknown chemical agent. It's a permanent scar on the land.
A 40-foot sterile circle. That's undeniable. And this precision, this geometric shape, it shows up elsewhere too. Palo Duro Canyon again.
Yes. After that bright light went down into the canyon, the family later found a scorched area. But it wasn't round. It was a clean rectangle, described as maybe 30 feet long and 20 wide. And again, the geometry was unnaturally precise. The witness said the corners were sharp as if someone had cut it out with a ruler. No messy edges, no debris scatter you'd expect from an impact or explosion. Just a perfect, dark rectangle. And the smell was there too, faintly metallic, like a burnt circuit board, that same non-combustion signature.
It holds up even on man-made surfaces. The Tehachapi, California case. On asphalt.
Right. A patrol officer finds an abandoned car. Next to it, on the road surface, is a 3-foot circular black mark, again described as crisp. But the asphalt itself wasn't melted or bubbled like you'd expect from, say, burning fuel or intense heat over time. It suggests the heat was applied very quickly, or maybe somehow contained by a field, preventing typical melting. And again, that strong smell of ozone in the air.
But there was something even weirder about that mark, wasn't there? And the evidence.
Yes, two really strange things. First, the mark itself wasn't permanent. It faded over several days and eventually disappeared completely. Asphalt damage usually doesn't just vanish. Second, the officer collected a small fragment from the mark. It was described as brittle, black. Lab analysis couldn't identify it. It was classified only as an unknown polymer. So the object maybe left behind some kind of transient material that defied identification and then just degraded away. Like the corrupted video footage, the evidence itself was temporary.
Okay, moving beyond heat marks, there's also evidence of magnetic effects, strong ones.
Yes, a powerful, temporary magnetic charge seems to be left behind sometimes. Back to the Fallon rancher. He first noticed it when his metal gate latch stuck hard to his work glove. Then he started checking other things. Pitchforks leaning against the barn, magnetized. His truck keys, sticking together. Tools in the shed, same thing. Even the iron horseshoes nailed up high on the barn beams were apparently magnetized, clinging together or slightly shifted.
So something generated an incredibly powerful electromagnetic field, strong enough to magnetize ordinary, non-specialized pieces of metal over a wide area.
Far beyond what stray currents or normal equipment would do. It likely relates to the object's propulsion or maybe a shielding mechanism, a massive EM field effect. And it wasn't just temporary, it seeped into the environment itself. Remember the soil samples from the burn circle?
They were still magnetic later.
A year later, when the rancher held a magnet over the soil samples taken from inside that 40-foot circle, fine metallic dust particles would visibly jump up and cling to the magnet. That implies some metallic residue from the object, or created by its field, was left behind and integrated into the soil. A lasting electromagnetic signature.
Okay, scorched earth, magnetized tools. Those are strange enough. But then there are these moments that seem to defy physics even more fundamentally. Impossible physical deformations.
This is where it gets really mind-bending, the Arkansas encounter. The witness, Owen, sees this floating white sphere. He instinctively points his flashlight at it. And the beam of light from the flashlight, it visibly curved inwards towards the sphere like it was being pulled by gravity. Then the flashlight just died.
Wait, the light beam bent. Light travels in straight lines. That's fundamental physics.
Exactly. To visibly bend a beam of light like that requires an immense gravitational field, something that warps space-time itself. Think general relativity, like the light bending around a star or a black hole. But this was apparently generated by a small, localized sphere. The energy concentration required for that is just staggering, beyond our current understanding.
And there was physical evidence found later, too.
On a tree.
Yes. Near where the sphere was seen, Owen later found a patch of bark on a nearby tree that was gone, stripped off. But the wood underneath wasn't splintered or cut. It was described as smooth as glass. Not burned, not scraped, but smoothed at a seemingly molecular level. It suggests some kind of matter manipulation, not just brute force.
Which brings us to maybe the strangest physical alteration, the late crescent cleat. You mentioned reversing entropy.
It's the implication, yes. The witness had tied their boat to a metal cleat on the dock the night before. The cleat was old, rusty, left distinct orange rust stains on their rope, standard oxidation. The morning after the encounter, they go back to the dock. The cleat looks brand new, shiny metal. The rust was completely gone. Erased, the witness said. And underneath where the cleat was bolted, the wood had a faint, pale, bleached-looking ring.
How does rust just disappear? Oxidation is a one-way chemical process, isn't it? Things decay, they don't undecay.
Under normal circumstances, yes. Rust is iron oxide. For it to vanish implies something actively reversed the oxidation process locally, or somehow stripped away the oxidized layer atom by atom without damaging the underlying metal. It suggests a technology capable of manipulating matter at a molecular level, potentially even reversing natural processes like decay or aging, at least within a very localized field. It defies the normal flow of time and chemistry.
So these aren't just landing marks. They're evidence of physics being actively manipulated, heat applied without fire, magnetism induced in ordinary objects, light being bent, matter smoothed, rust erased.
These are the physical scars. They're precise. They're impossible by conventional explanations. They move the encounters from the realm of perception into hard, physical evidence, and the implications are enormous.
Okay, so the world goes silent, the tech plays games, and physical impossible scars are left on the land. But maybe the most personal violation, the one that really gets under your skin, is the theft of time. This seems to be the point where witnesses truly grasp the depth of the encounter. The realization that their reality, their timeline, was somehow paused, edited, or stolen for the benefit of whatever this was.
That's right. And the discovery of this missing time isn't usually immediate. It's not like they look at their watch during the event and see it stopped. It often comes later, sometimes hours later, when they notice a discrepancy. A mismatch between their watch and the car clock, or the phone, or just their own memory of how long things took. And that realization brings this profound sense of dread. Knowing a chunk of your existence, maybe minutes, maybe hours, is just gone, unaccounted for, spent under completely unknown circumstances.
Let's go back to the I-40 trucker, Kingman. That huge black triangle passes over him, headlights dim briefly. He estimates he stood there watching it move away for maybe a minute, 90-second stops.
That was his perception, yes, a very short duration. But when he gets back in the truck, starts driving, he glances at his dashboard clock. It reads 1:31 a.m. And he distinctly remembered checking it just before the triangle appeared. At that moment, it was 12:47 a.m.
So 12.47 to 1.31, that's 44 minutes.
44 minutes vanished, gone. What felt like maybe a minute and a half of observation actually consumed nearly 3/4 of an hour of objective time. That discrepancy is too large to just explain away as being stressed or misjudging time. It strongly suggests some kind of temporal distortion occurred. Time itself was stretched or compressed locally around him and his truck while he was observing the object.
44 minutes just.
Yeah.
Erased from his continuity. That's a significant blank space. And the traveler in Klamath Falls, Oregon, their experience was even more complex, right? Layers of time distortion?
Yes, that one's particularly baffling. This person pulls over late at night, near Klamath Falls, intends to take just a quick nap, maybe 15 minutes, sets an alarm, maybe it's around midnight, they wake up suddenly, cold, shivering, the car engine is off. They look at the dashboard clock, it says 4:13 a.m. So the immediate thought is, wow, I overslept badly, 4 hours passed instead of 15 minutes.
Okay, that could happen. But then the clock started disagreeing.
Exactly. They drive off feeling disoriented. Stop at the next town for gas, maybe coffee. Their phone had died earlier. But now they plug it in, or maybe it just gets signal and it powers back on instantly. The phone automatically syncs with the network time, the objective external time, and the phone displays 8:23 a.m. But the car clock still reads 4:10 a.m. a few minutes after they woke up.
Whoa. So the phone says 8.23, but the car thinks it's only 4.17. That's a 4-hour difference persisting after the event.
A 4-hour discrepancy between the external network-verified time and the time recorded by the car's internal clock, which was presumably within the main field of the phenomenon. It suggests the entity didn't just make the witness lose track of time. It seems to have isolated the vehicle and the witness within a bubble where time passed much, much slower, or was perhaps even stopped or reset relative to the outside world.
That's incredibly disturbing.
Yeah.
Multiple time streams existing simultaneously. The world moved forward 4 hours, while the car and the person inside were held in some kind of temporal suspension.
It demonstrates a potential capability to create localized parallel temporal realities, making hours feel like minutes, or perhaps making external minutes stretch internally. It's a profound level of control over time itself.
And sometimes the time loss isn't a big jump, but more insidious, like the witness in Illinois with the streetlights.
Right. They were completely focused on that terrifying sequence of lights going out, then coming back on, forcing them to retreat, totally immersed in the event, the fear. They likely perceived the whole interaction as lasting maybe 5-10 minutes, a short, intense burst of activity. But later, checking the time, they realized that walk home, which normally took 15, maybe 20 minutes max, had actually taken 1 hour and 17 minutes. 77 minutes.
Over an hour gone, while they were seemingly just standing there watching the lights blink.
Yes. It suggests the time dilation might be directly linked to the psychological manipulation. The entity perhaps stretches the duration of the terrifying moments to maximize the impact, while the witness's perception of that time is compressed.
It's not just time either. Sometimes it's space itself that gets distorted. The Colorado camper.
Yeah, this person is camping in the mountains. Checks their GPS handheld unit around 11:15 p.m. Location is accurate, everything normal. Later, they're woken by a weird sound, this rhythmic thrumming, and see shadows outside the camper that seem to be moving strangely, twitching on their own. They grab the GPS again to check their location, and it shows coordinates 11 miles away from where they actually are, even though the vehicle hasn't moved an inch.
11 miles off? How is that even possible? GPS relies on satellite signals.
It suggests something was either powerfully spoofing the GPS signals right around the camper, feeding it false location data, or, more radically, perhaps briefly distorting the local space-time fabric itself, making the device think it was 11 miles away. Imagine the feeling. You know you haven't moved, but your technology, your anchor to location, tells you you're suddenly miles away. It's a complete spatial disorientation on top of everything else.
Did the GPS stay wrong?
No. After restarting the device, it apparently snapped back to the correct coordinates. But the memory of seeing that 11-mile discrepancy, that's the lingering psychological impact. The knowledge that your position in space became momentarily unstable.
And there's a final signature related to time, isn't there?
Yeah.
A sort of temporal echo.
Yeah.
The Klamath Falls witness again.
Yes. This is subtle, but deeply weird. After the main event, after discovering the 4-hour time discrepancy, the witness reported that for several nights afterward, they would wake up suddenly, always at the exact same time, 4:13 a.m., regardless of when they went to bed, whether they were tired or not. Bang. 4:14 a.m., wide awake.
Like an alarm clock went off in their head, set to the time they emerged from the missing time.
Exactly. It's as if their internal body clock, their circadian rhythm, was somehow imprinted or reset by the experience, locked onto that specific moment of transition back into normal time flow. It suggests the interaction wasn't purely external. It left some kind of physiological or neurological residue. The body itself recorded the temporal timestamp.
So the terror of the missing hours isn't just the lost time itself. It's the chilling realization that while you were gone, while you perceived only minutes, the entity had potentially hours to do what? Observe, interact. Your reality was hijacked and you have no memory of what happened during that gap.
Precisely. It's the ultimate vulnerability. Your time is not your own.
So the encounter itself ends, the object leaves, the sun comes up, maybe the clocks eventually agree again. But this story doesn't actually end there, does it? One of the creepiest threads running through these accounts, these diaries, is that the phenomena often doesn't provide closure. It leaves. Echoes. Reminders. A subtle, lingering presence that ensures the witness never quite feels safe again.
Exactly. We move from the acute event to the chronic aftermath, the unresolved haunting. The phenomenon leaves behind these persistent changes, both in the environment and sometimes seemingly in the witness's perception, that serve as constant reminders. The world feels permanently compromised.
Let's go back to the apartment dweller in Illinois, the one with the hum that reacted to their phone. The weirdness didn't stop after that first night, did it?
No. The report indicates that the faint blue glow they saw and that distinct ozone smell would return periodically, often around 3:00 a.m. every few nights. And their cat, Jasper, would apparently react strongly sometimes, hissing and staring intently at an empty corner of the room during these episodes.
So it's recurring, and the interaction with the phone continued.
Yes, and this, I think, is the core of the ongoing psychological pressure. The hum would return, that low vibration, but it would still stop instantly the moment the witness reached for or touched their phone. It's like a personalized threat signature. It reinforces the idea that the entity is still aware, still present intermittently, and is actively monitoring them, waiting for them to drop their guard. The apartment itself feels contaminated, like a space under occasional surveillance.
And out in the open, the physical scars remain as stark reminders. The Fallon, Nevada rancher and that burn circle.
He concludes his account by stating, years later, that 40-foot patch of ground has never recovered. Nothing grows there. It remains bare dirt, sterile. It's a permanent physical monument to the event, impossible to ignore. And perhaps the most potent symbol of this lingering presence is the rancher saying he sometimes still hears it. That low hum again, like it's under the ground waiting for something.
Under the ground, that's
Ugh.
like it didn't leave, it just submerged, waiting.
That's the feeling it leaves. Not gone, just dormant, waiting for the right conditions to manifest again. It has claimed that piece of land, fundamentally changed it.
And we see other residual effects too. Lingering interference with technology or infrastructure.
Yes, several accounts mention this. The streetlights in Illinois, the ones that went out sequentially. For weeks afterwards, they were reported to be visibly dimmer than other lights on the street, and they made a faint, odd crackling sound. It suggests the phenomenon didn't just manipulate the power flow temporarily. Its presence caused lasting damage or degradation to the local electrical hardware, maybe through the intense EM field or power drain.
And more localized, personal tech interference.
The witness in Chillicothe, Ohio, they reported that ever since their encounter, their smartphone compass goes haywire, spins randomly whenever they stand on their own front porch. Nowhere else, just that specific spot. It implies a lasting, geographically tiny, magnetic anomaly right at their home. A constant reminder every time they use their phone there. And remember, the I-40 trucker, Kingman, he mentions still getting that tight feeling in my chest whenever he drives through a particularly quiet stretch of desert, a conditioned physical response. And later, when he got his truck washed, he noticed strange, faint burn marks on the tips of his windshield wiper blades. Small, easily missed, but unexplainable. Subtle physical traces left on his vehicle.
So the final picture isn't really about the object itself anymore, it's about the witness. Changed. Forever looking over their shoulder, listening for the hum, checking their compass. The anticipation becomes the haunting.
They've been conditioned by the experience. The Fallon rancher listens for the sound beneath his feet. The I-40 trucker instinctively checks his mirrors on empty highways, half expecting to see those three white lights pacing him again, keeping pace just far enough away to stay out of reach. The immediate threat might be gone, but the potential for it to return is always there. They now live in a reality where they know firsthand that the rules can be broken, that they can be observed and manipulated by something unknown, that fragility is the lasting scar.
When you pull it all together, all these diaries, these accounts, there's this clear pattern, isn't there? It starts with the silence, the isolation, then the electromagnetic weirdness, the precise movements that seem designed to interact, to control, shutting down the normal world to create this private theater of fear.
And leaving behind evidence that just shouldn't exist. The geometric burns, the magnetism, the manipulated light and matter. What's truly compelling and disturbing isn't just what these things are, but the consistent evidence of their behavior. They operate with apparent intent, precision, and a sophisticated awareness of human technology and perception.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty heavy final thought to chew on, doesn't it?
I think so.
If the very fabric of our reality, sound, light, time, magnetism, even the integrity of physical matter and recorded data, if all that could be manipulated so precisely, so locally, and seemingly so easily by these phenomena, what does that really say about the stability of reality itself? Especially when we're alone, in the dark.
What's actually holding it all together? If the physical proof we've discussed, the sterile soil, the bent light, the erased rust, and the temporal proof, those missing hours, if they directly contradict our scientific understanding and our instruments, how solid is the ground beneath our feet? Maybe the stability we take for granted relies simply on these entities, choosing not to interfere more often. The real horror simmering beneath these diaries might be that glimpse they offer into just how fragile, how conditional our perceived reality truly is. You've been shown through these accounts that your time, your space, your very perception of the world might not be entirely under your own control.
We'll leave you to sit with that one. We took the facts, the reports, and tried to weave them into the story they seem to tell. Because these are the kinds of stories, grounded in impossible experiences, that tend to leave the deepest marks. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the unexplained diaries. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've got something pretty chilling lined up. We're looking at a whole stack of reports, first-hand accounts.
Yeah, and these aren't just random stories. There's a pattern here, a really disturbing one.
Exactly. People who saw something strange in the sky, UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, and then they get a visit.
And these visits are happening all over. We're talking New Mexico, Oregon, Nevada, Kansas, Missouri, Colorado. Different places, different people, but the story, it's eerily similar.
We've got accounts from gas station clerks, maintenance guys, writers, just ordinary folks.
And they all describe encounters with these figures. You know, the ones people call the Men in Black. MIBs.
Right. Now, just to be clear up front, our goal today isn't about proving if UAPs are real or if these MIBs exist.
No, not at all. Think of this more like pattern analysis. We're looking at these reports side by side and asking, what's consistent? What are the common threads?
We're digging into the descriptions of these visitors, how they looked, how they acted, their methods, what seemed to be their goal. It's about synthesizing the uniformity in these accounts.
It's quite striking, actually, almost mechanical. We're calling it the correction protocol based on the language used in some reports.
We promise we're going to break down every creepy detail, the synchronized movements, the weird language, the way evidence just evaporates.
It's all about understanding this narrative of information control that emerges when you connect the dots between these independent stories. It's systematic, it's precise, and it's definitely not normal human stuff.
So let's dive in. Where does it all begin? It always starts with a trigger event, doesn't it? Seeing something you weren't meant to see.
Precisely. Observing the unauthorized subject, as some reports phrase it. So what are people actually seeing? Well, the descriptions of the UAPs themselves are key. They seem almost intentionally impossible.
Impossible how? Like defying physics.
Exactly. We're talking about lights, sometimes bright white, green, or orange, often totally silent. But the way they move, that's what breaks the rules.
Like the Nevada and Sedona reports.
Yeah. Witnesses describe these things stopping on a dime, from high speed to a dead stop, instantly.
We're making perfect right-angle turns?
Yeah.
That's the one that always gets me.
Right. The witness near Nevada Route 93, they put it perfectly. It moved, and I quote, like someone dragging a cursor on a screen.
Wow. Just zip, turn, zip.
Think about that. No deceleration, no banking turn. Any craft we know of, even a drone, has momentum. It needs to arc. To turn 90 degrees instantly at speed, it violates inertia.
So right away, the witness knows they're seeing something not just advanced, but operating on different principles entirely. It's not just faster, it's fundamentally different tech.
It's a statement, and it's not always just visual. Sometimes there's a physical interaction, too.
Like the Wilmette National Forest case.
That's a big one. A cluster of lights zips across the road in front of this person's car, and boom, the car just shuddered and died, instantly dead.
An electromagnetic pulse, maybe. Something that just fries the electronics.
Seems like it. It wasn't just a sighting. It was an active interference. The UAP didn't just fly by, it asserted itself on the environment.
Which brings us to another really weird, consistent detail. The silence.
Ah, yes. The uncanny stillness. It's not just that the object is silent. Its presence seems to change the surroundings.
Before the MIBs even show up.
Right. Take New Mexico gas station worker. It's 2:15 a.m., deserted. Suddenly the whole desert lights up. He said it wasn't like lightning, more like a massive camera flash. Huge, silent, white light.
And
then silence. Total silence. He specifically mentioned even the insects had stopped their noise. Think about that. The natural soundscape just switched off.
we hear that again and again, don't we? Portland, Pioneer Square, the busker who saw the silver disc over the fountain.
Same thing. The moment the disc appeared, the whole square just went quiet. Traffic noise, people talking, music, muted. Like someone hit pause on the world.
It's like the UAP creates this little bubble of altered reality around itself.
That's a good way to put it. A local vacuum. It tells the witness, on a subconscious level maybe, that something fundamental has shifted. The rules are off.
And that's the moment, isn't it? That moment of realizing you've seen the impossible. What's the next instinct?
Document it. Pull out the phone, grab the camera, try to capture proof.
The human reaction. And that seems to be the fatal step in terms of
triggering the correction.
It really does. It's like the attempt to record is the signal flare. Look at the maintenance worker in Joshua Tree, sees this glinting object, pulls out his phone. Camera app freezes. Just the camera app. The rest of the phone worked fine, but the one function he needed right then, dead.
Or the witness on the Oregon coast saw the silver disc near Ashland.
Same story, different method. Grabbed their phone fully charged just minutes before, they said, and the battery indicator read 0, completely drained, instantly.
Wow. So the phenomenon itself seems to interfere with attempts to record it sometimes.
Sometimes, but not always. The Sedona witness, they actually did get footage, filmed the object's smooth, weird movement,
And what did they do with it?
posted it on a small, private hiking forum. Not exactly going viral,
But it was out there. Unauthorized data, loose in the world.
Bingo. And less than 24 hours later, knock, knock. The visit.
So let's recap that trigger sequence. See impossible UAP. Experience environmental anomaly, like the silence. Try to document it.
And that documentation attempt, successful or not, seems to put you on the list. It's like sending a ping, information breach detected.
Which leads us straight to the cleanup crew. The oversight department. Okay, so the UAP sighting is the trigger. Now the response arrives. And this is where the sheer consistency across all these reports becomes kind of mind-bending. Why are they always described the same way?
That uniformity is probably the most compelling aspect. It shouts protocol. It's just a single, standardized approach being deployed everywhere, regardless of location or witness. It's not random, it's deliberate.
And the look is instantly recognizable, but off.
Right.
Let's start with the clothes.
The uniform. Always the black suit. White shirt, black tie. Sometimes a hat, sometimes an overcoat, even in summer. And the descriptions always emphasize how perfect they are.
Flawless, spotless, perfectly tailored. Like unnaturally clean for the setting.
Exactly. Think about it. They show up on a dusty Nevada dirt road or in the damp fog of the Oregon coast.
And their shoes are spotless.
Spotless. Witnesses really fixate on the shoes. Black dress shoes looking brand new, somehow repelling the dirt, the dust, the moisture. One Oregon witness said they defied the moisture, reflecting light, weirdly.
It's like the clothes aren't just clothes, they're part of the presentation. Like they materialized in the suit.
Or it's a kit, yeah.
Yeah.
Deployed perfectly on site. It adds to that feeling of them being separate from the environment they're in.
And the physical appearance underneath the suits. Also weirdly consistent.
Tall, pale, always clean-shaven. Often witnesses mention they're very similar in height and build, almost like clones.
But the faces, that's where it gets really creepy. Enters that uncanny valley territory.
Definitely. The descriptions are chilling. Blank, flat, like wax, too smooth. The witness in the Greeley diner said their faces had an odd, stretched quality.
And the blinking thing, or lack thereof.
Yeah, multiple reports mention they just don't blink. Or blink very, very rarely. Staring, unnervingly.
It feeds into this idea that they're mimicking human behavior,
Yeah.
but not quite getting it right, like
Yeah.
the emotions.
Oh, the emotions are a big one. Or the lack of them. The Nevada motel witness described an MIB smile as just wrong. Like a photocopy of what a human smile should be. It didn't match the eyes.
The Nebraska news anchor said something similar, right? Stiff smiles, like they were following instructions.
Exactly. Like they're referencing some internal manual on how to interact with human observer. They understand the need for a smile, maybe, but they can't actually feel or express it naturally. It's performed, not genuine.
So they look manufactured, they emote like badly programmed AI. How do they move? Because that's another layer of strangeness.
The synchronization, it's maybe their most defining, unnerving trait. They don't just coordinate, they move as a single unit.
Like robots or puppets.
Puppets is a good analogy. The New Mexico gas station witness said when the two MIBs turned their heads, it was at the exact same moment, slow, smooth, like they were operated by a single controller.
Wow.
And the Oregon Coast witness used almost the same image, like two puppet heads rotating on the same axle. It's perfect, mirrored motion, not learned, but inherent.
In silent movement too, right? They just appear and disappear.
Total silence. They enter rooms reportedly without the door chime sounding. They're suddenly just there. And when they leave, witnesses look away for a second, look back, and they're gone.
No footsteps, no door closing sounds.
Nothing. The Nevada motel witness was adamant, no sound of the door, and definitely no sound of their car starting outside, which brings us to the vehicles.
Ah, yes, the getaway cars.
Yeah.
Also part of the standard kit, it seems.
Always black, usually sedans, often described as slightly older models, Lincolns, big Chryslers, sometimes windowless vans.
Why the old models, do you think? It seems counterintuitive. Why not sleek, modern, government-style vehicles?
That's a great question. Maybe it's misdirection. The older car looks less threatening, maybe evokes a kind of nostalgic G-man authority figure from the past, while other details like
Missing license plates.
exactly, often mentioned, no plates or plates that seem wrong, heavily tinted windows. It suggests they're operating outside any legal framework, despite the official-looking car.
And the cars behave as strangely as the occupants.
Oh, yeah. They mirror the UAP's physics defiance, appearing and disappearing instantly. Remember the New Mexico security footage? The black sedan was just gone in a single skipped frame.
And the Missouri farmer. The car in the wet field.
Incredible detail. He said the tire tracks just stopped. In the middle of the muddy field, they didn't turn around, they just ended.
Faded into the grass, he said, like the vehicle had lifted straight off the ground.
No trace. No trace. So you've got these pristine, synchronized, emotionally vacant beings arriving in vehicles that can appear, disappear, and apparently levitate, leaving no evidence.
They're like physical extensions of the same reality-bending phenomenon the witness just saw in the sky.
Precisely. The medium matches the message.
Okay, so these unsettling figures arrive. How do they actually interact? What are the tools they use to achieve this correction?
Well, a primary tool is language, but it's a very specific kind of language. It's not normal conversation.
Formal, stilted.
Very. It often sounds like it's been translated or like they're reading from a technical manual. They use bizarre, bureaucratic jargon.
Like correction assistance.
That's a key one. It perfectly encapsulates their apparent mission. They're not there to punish or interrogate in the usual sense. They're providing assistance to correct a data error, the error being the witness's observation.
So they're framing it as an administrative task.
Exactly. Other terms pop up. Unauthorized aerial phenomena, verification required, strange department names like Department of Archival Security or Department of Atmospheric Studies.
The news anchor in Nebraska picked up on that, didn't they? The use of unauthorized instead of unidentified.
Yes, a very subtle but crucial choice. Unidentified implies a mystery to be solved. Unauthorized implies a breach of protocol, something that needs to be contained and rectified. It frames the UAP not as unknown, but as forbidden.
And the delivery of this language, also consistently weird.
Oh, absolutely. Witnesses describe the voices as flat, measured, calm, like reading from a script. Monotone, often.
Like text-to-speech, almost.
Some descriptions come close to that. The Greeley witness had that really specific, chilling detail. The MA's lips seemed slightly out of sync with the words. Like there was a delay between the thought, the sound production, and the physical mouth movement.
Wow, okay, so creepy language delivered creepily. But how do they even find these people so quickly? The targeting is incredibly precise.
That's one of the biggest mysteries. They seem to know exactly who saw what, where they live or work, often showing up within 24 to 48 hours, sometimes much sooner.
And they find people even when the information isn't public.
That's the thing. It suggests a tracking capability far beyond just scraping social media or news reports. Remember, the Sedona witness posted his video to a tiny private hiking forum.
And they still found him.
Found him and addressed him using his full unlisted last name, Heller, a name he specifically avoided using online. How did they connect that niche forum post to his real-world identity and address so fast?
It implies access to, well, something deeper. Data we don't even know is being collected.
Or the freelance writer near Nevada Route 93, she just sent one short message about the sighting to a small regional paper, not even published yet.
And they found her where?
At an isolated motel hundreds of miles away at 3:07 in the morning. They tracked the intention to report, it seems, and intercepted her before the info could spread widely. Their tracking isn't just fast, it feels almost precognitive.
Okay, so they find the target. What happens during the actual interview? What do they focus on?
It usually boils down to two key areas. First, and most importantly, the evidence.
Photos, videos, recordings.
Did you take any photos or video? That's the crucial question. And the reaction, if the witness says no, is telling. One Nevada witness denied having footage, and the MIB reportedly replied, "Good, that's good." Relief, almost. Their primary goal is data containment.
And the second focus.
The nature of the interaction itself. They often try to frame the UAP sighting not just as something the witness saw, but something that interacted with the witness.
Like asking, how long did it look at you?
Exactly. Even when the witness insists the light just flew past, they push this idea of mutual observation. Did you feel it watching you? That kind of thing.
Why? What's the purpose of framing it that way?
It's speculative, of course, but maybe they're assessing the level of impact. Was there an informational exchange? Did the unauthorized subject leave some kind of imprint on the witness's consciousness? They seem concerned about more than just pictures.
A psychological contamination, maybe?
Could be. They're checking the damage caused by the unauthorized observation.
And if the witness pushes back, asks who they are, demands ID.
That's when the performance of authority gets really bizarre. The fake ideas or the complete lack of them.
Like the Nevada maintenance worker who got shown an empty folder.
Yeah, a black leather folder open to reveal just blank plastic where a badge or ID should have been. No explanation, just the implication of authority without any actual proof.
Or they give fake department names.
Right, things that sound official but don't exist. Federal Aeronautics Division, Department of Atmospheric Studies, Department of Agriculture, Department of Energy. Depends on the context, maybe.
But it's all smoke and mirrors.
Contemporary smoke at that. The Nebraska news anchor case is fascinating here. They actually got paperwork.
The one with the disconnected phone number?
Yep. A DC number for the Federal Aeronautics Division that went nowhere. But the truly weird part, the paperwork itself wasn't permanent.
What do you mean?
The anchor kept the forms. The next morning, the ink had vanished. The pages were completely white.
Get out. The ink disappeared.
Completely. Like, the documents themselves were designed to degrade after the interaction. Their credentials, their paperwork, their entire bureaucratic footprint, it only exists for the duration of the correction. Then it dissolves.
Leaving no trace that they were ever there.
Exactly. Maximum deniability.
Okay, so they've located the witness, done the weird interview, shown their fake or blank IDs.
Yeah.
Now we get to the core action, the correction itself. And it goes way beyond just asking someone to be quiet.
Oh, far beyond. This is about actively, surgically removing the event from the record, both digital and sometimes physical reality.
Let's talk digital first. The digital scrub. It's not just hitting delete, is it?
No, it's much more invasive. It's like they have root access to everything. Data isn't just deleted from the witness's device. It's often corrupted at the source or removed from systems the witness doesn't even control.
Like the podcaster in Dayton. His interview files.
Yeah, he interviewed a witness. Later, he goes to edit the audio, and the files are gone, replaced with static. But get this, sometimes, mixed in the static were fragments of faint whispering sounds.
Seriously. Whispering. That's nightmare fuel.
Tells you something about the nature of the interference, maybe. And look at the Astoria video the lights filmed over the coast.
Uploaded to a private cloud server, right? Secure storage?
Supposedly. But the log showed it was deleted by a remote user. Someone logged in, deleted the file, logged out, and the login IP address, it traced back to Nevada.
Thousands of miles away from Oregon.
Exactly. It implies a networked, coordinated capability to reach into private systems anywhere instantly to erase specific data.
And it's not always digital. Sometimes it's physical removal.
The New Mexico gas station again. The security footage that presumably caught the UAP flash and maybe the MIB arrival, the entire hard drive unit was gone the next day.
What did they say? Ticket.
The MIBs, according to the clerk who was there later, simply told the manager it was being handled by corporate. No paperwork, no official request, just took the physical evidence under a vague corporate guise.
Okay, that's erasing data. But then we get into the territory that's much weirder. Manipulating records, even memories. Talk about Evan, the maintenance worker in Nevada.
Right. Evan's job involved filing daily truck inspection reports. His report for the day he saw the UAP, entry 219, documented his location and time, placing him squarely at the scene.
And after the MIB visit,
The report, entry 219, was just gone from the company's shared database. Not deleted with a record, just missing, like it never existed.
okay, so they can hack databases. But that's not the weirdest part of the story.
No. The truly chilling part is when Evan went to his administrator, the person who manages those reports. He asked about 219, and the admin insisted, completely convinced. You didn't file a 219, Evan. You were off that day.
But he wasn't off. He remembered the whole day vividly. The heat, the work, the sighting.
Absolutely. But the protocol hadn't just erased the digital file. It had somehow altered the memory or the conviction of a completely separate person, his admin, to align with the new, corrected version of reality where Evan wasn't there to file that report.
That's staggering. They're not just deleting files, they're editing human recall to fit the narrative.
It suggests a level of reality management that's profound. And this ability to manipulate seems to extend to time itself.
The time anomalies. This pops up again and again.
And consistently, it seems like the MIBs operate in or can create localized pockets of nonlinear time.
The classic example is the New Mexico gas station clock.
Right. The security footage showed the timestamp jump directly from 2:28 a.m. to 2:37 a.m. 9 minutes just gone from the tape. And the witness noticed the same 9-minute gap on the cash register clock during the MIB interaction. The gap is real and it's recorded.
It's like they paused local time to do their work.
Or consider the Astoria footage of the MIB van. It wasn't a smooth departure. The security camera showed it parked across the street in one frame, and in the very next frame, it was already halfway down the block.
Skipping the acceleration phase entirely.
Defying normal physics again, appearing to manipulate time or space to allow for instantaneous movement.
And there are personal time anomalies too. Clocks and watches acting weird.
Yes. The Kansas highway witness, after seeing a blinding flash and a black car appear and disappear, looked at their car clock. It had jumped forward 45 minutes. Lost time.
And the Sedona witness, the guy who filmed the UAP, his watch.
His watch stopped dead at 8:42 a.m., the exact moment he said the light vanished. But later, when he got it working again, the date had reset itself to 1 day earlier.
So it didn't just stop, it rewound.
It suggests they're not just stopping time, but actively adjusting the temporal markers associated with the event.
The most dramatic example has to be the Portland busker footage, though. The frozen crowd.
Incredible account. Security footage from Pioneer Square apparently showed the entire crowd, people walking, talking, everything frozen completely still for about 10 seconds.
Like statues.
Exactly. But moving normally through this frozen tableau, the two MIBs, they walk into frame, have a brief, silent conference, and then walk out of frame. Then normal motion resumes for everyone else.
They were the only things moving in a paused world.
It implies they can create and operate within a localized temporal field, performing their correction assistance while the surrounding reality is literally on hold.
Okay, my head hurts. So they erase data, rewrite memories, manipulate time, and then they leave a little warning.
Often, yes, the final touch. Short, cryptic, intimidating messages. Not direct threats usually, but warnings about the futility of digging deeper.
Like the Astoria witness who found a photo from their own security camera.
With a typed message on it. Curiosity is not a shield. Chilling.
Or the Nevada writer.
She received a note saying you were not supposed to see it move. It's correcting her understanding, reinforcing that she crossed a boundary.
They're trying to condition the witness against future observation or investigation.
Precisely. The Kansas researcher who tried using library resources to follow up found his library card and email disabled, and a note left for him. There is nothing to find.
It's a dead end. They enforce the idea that the phenomenon itself is a void, unresearchable, because they will erase any attempt to do so.
They curate reality by removing the evidence and the means to investigate further.
So the MIDs leave, the evidence is gone, time is maybe reset. But the encounter isn't really over for the witness, is it? There's a lingering effect.
Definitely not over. In many ways, the most effective part of the protocol is the psychological residue it leaves behind. It's about creating a lasting sense of anxiety and surveillance.
The feeling of being watched.
Pervasive. That black car, the sedan, or the van that was part of the initial visit, it often doesn't just disappear forever. Witnesses report seeing identical vehicles long after the main event.
Just orderly.
Parked down the street, across the way from their workplace. Following them for a few miles on the highway, then peeling off. We see this in reports from New York, Missouri, Oregon, Texas, Kansas. It's widespread.
Are they doing anything? Threatening?
Usually not. That's the key. The cars are often described as empty or just idling silently. They're not actively pursuing or confronting the witness anymore. They're just present.
A constant silent reminder.
Exactly. It's psychological warfare, essentially. Reinforcing the warning, ensuring compliance through perpetual low-level monitoring, or at least the feeling of being monitored.
Like the Dayton podcaster's experience, waking up at the same time.
That's a perfect example of the imprint. He reports waking up consistently every single night between 3:0 and 3:00 a.m. with this overwhelming specific feeling that someone is waiting just outside his bedroom door.
Every night.
Every night they've conditioned him, planted a specific time, a specific dread deep in his subconscious. It ensures he never forgets the encounter, never feels truly safe from it. It's self-policing, driven by induced anxiety.
So, we step back and look at the whole thing. What's the ultimate purpose here?
It doesn't sound purely punitive.
No, the analysis points towards something more. Administrative, almost protective, in a very strange way. Remember the Oregon Coast witness who was asked, "Do you require assistance?"
Yeah. And then later told something about tolerances.
Observation cannot persist beyond tolerances. That phrase is key. It suggests there are limits. Maybe seeing something extraordinary fleetingly is within tolerance, but documenting it, sharing it, dwelling on it, that exceeds the limit.
And the MIBs step in to enforce those tolerances.
Yeah.
To protect what? Consensus reality.
That seems to be the implication. They're acting like reality maintenance agents, preventing anomalous data, the UAP sighting and its documentation, from leaking into the public record and destabilizing the perceived normalcy of the world. They protect the system.
By erasing the anomaly. And the witness becomes part of that anomaly to be managed.
They become the anomalous record keeper who needs correction assistance.
Okay, so we've traced this pattern. Physics-defying UAPs, uncanny synchronized visitors, bizarre language, evidence erasure, time manipulation, memory editing, lingering surveillance. If they can do all that, what's the final, most chilling implication of their power?
For me, it has to be the Georgia camping trip story. Dylan.
Right. He saw the strange light with his friend Laura, a shared, intense experience.
Definitely shared. But then, a couple of days later, he calls Laura to talk about it, process it, and she has no idea what he's talking about.
None.
Swears she wasn't camping that weekend. Absolutely convinced she was home with her parents the whole time. No memory of the trip, the light, nothing.
Wow. So her memory was wiped clean.
Wiped clean. And then Dylan checks his phone. He'd taken pictures on the trip. Laura is missing from every single photo, digitally erased from the visual record of an event she now has no memory of.
That's terrifying. But it gets worse, doesn't it?
It gets one level deeper. A few days after that phone call, Dylan is confronted by an MIB who delivers the final devastating line of correction.
What do they say?
They looked Dylan dead in the eye and said, "You weren't there either."
Oh my God.
Think about that. They didn't just erase the data. They didn't just erase a third party's memory. They attempted to erase the witness's own experience from reality itself. To tell him that his own memory, his own presence at the event, was also an error that needed correcting.
They're not just managing the record of reality, they're trying to manage the subjective experience of reality.
It suggests a level of control that's almost impossible to comprehend. They don't just delete the evidence. They aim to delete the participants from the event in the fabric of history and memory. #tag outro.
So, wrapping this up, what we see across all these disparate accounts is this incredibly consistent, almost algorithmic protocol.
Yeah, it's instantaneous deployment across huge distances, perfect synchronization, total information erasure. It points to something highly organized, systematic, and definitely not human as we understand it.
It suggests some entity, some force, is deeply invested in maintaining a very specific version of reality, a specific public record.
And the real focus of the mystery, maybe, isn't just the UAPs themselves, but the sheer power and methodology dedicated to making sure they remain officially unseen, unrecorded, unproven. The erasure is the phenomenon.
The disappearing evidence, the skip time, the altered memories. That's the core strangeness we're left with.
And it leaves you with a profoundly unsettling final thought. If these agents can erase 9 minutes from a security tape, delete files remotely from secure servers, make ink vanish from paper, and rewrite a person's memory of a shared event.
What else could they correct?
Exactly. What are the limits? If they told Dylan, "You weren't there either," trying to overwrite his own experience.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? About your own life. Those weird moments of deja vu or missing time, or that friend who swears an event you both remember clearly never actually happened.
Could any of that be the result of correction assistance that worked so perfectly you simply have no memory of the original event anymore? You only have the corrected version.
A chilling thought. Maybe we should all take a closer look at the unexplained glitches and edits in the diaries of our own lives. What might have been scrubbed clean?
Perhaps the most successful correction is the one that leaves you utterly unaware anything was ever amiss. Just that lingering background hum of anxiety, that feeling of being watched.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.